Hello and welcome into my attic. The idea for this DIY came to me when I finished drinking this juice, because below the label there was a beautifully shaped bottle with lots of potential. So in this video I'm going to show you how I transformed this bottle. So without further ado, let's get started. So obviously the first thing I need to do is to cut off the top, and I'm going to cut it off around about here. So I need to mark where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to need a raised surface to rest my felt tip pen on. It needs to be the correct height for where I want to cut. And then I'm just going to go all the way around by twisting the bottle. First I'll pierce it and then I'll cut it, but maybe you're better off using garden shears rather than scissors. Okay, so I eventually got it off and sanded it down as straight as possible. For my decoration, I chose this floral napkin. I didn't like the mirrored image of the flowers, so I decided to cut it in half, and then I decided to cut it into quarters so that when I glued it on it would be easier and I'd make less mess. So I've got my Mod Podge, or my wood glue and water actually, and my pom-pom to dab it on, which is really useful for this. Take your time and go gently because it is very delicate, the paper, and it's easy to rip. But if you do happen to rip it, with this method there is a remedy to patch it up. So once the first piece was on, I went to dry it off with the hairdryer, and then I will start on the second piece. Any mistakes that need patching up, I'll do that later. You may want to fray the napkin a little bit by tearing it. So my napkin didn't meet up end to end, which means I've got a gap that I've got to fill up. So I'm just going to tear off a piece of napkin, it doesn't really matter what piece, and just fill in the gap. So now everything's dry, I'm going to do some patching up because this orange flower here is split. So I'm just going to tear another piece of orange flower and stick it on the top. As you can see, there are holes to patch up, and I've also got to complete the top and the bottom of the vase. So I'm going to make the frosted glass recipe to do just that. For this recipe you'll need about 2 teaspoons of cornstarch and 1 teaspoon of wood glue or PVA glue, you know, the white glue, and just a little drop of water. Mix it up. It needs to be creamy and so you can paint it on with the brush and then dab it off with, I'm using this pom-pom, which I'm finding really useful for this kind of thing. So I will dab this mixture on the top, on the bottom, and where the paper is split, and then I will dry it off with the hairdryer, and that's it. I'd just like to say that this recipe isn't a strict recipe, you know, you have to go by eye as well. As I said before, you just need a creamy mixture. There's no colour in it, there's no paint in it. What gives it the kind of mistiness is the cornstarch. You know, the more cornstarch you put in it, the more cloudier it will get. Also, it dries up really beautifully smooth and silky as well. As I can still see the line of the tissue paper, I'm going to go over that just a little bit more to cover up that line, to disguise it. Yes, that looks better now. Okay, so that's completed now, and I think it's looking so beautiful, so elegant and so fresh. But what do you do if you would like this in a different colour? Well, that's easy enough. We just make the same recipe as before with the cornstarch and the glue and the water, and just add a little bit of colour, not too much. Here I'm using just a little touch of acrylic paint. Just brush on and dab like before. And you're left with this silky pale yellow Seaglass effect. Now you just need to Mod Podge the napkin onto the jar. Obviously you don't need cornstarch for this, just your glue and water or Mod Podge, whatever you prefer to use. So now my jar is dry. I have some more yellow mixture left over, so I'm going to go over the jar again, and I'm going to use that as a sealant for the jar. But that is optional, of course. So here are the 3 jars I did all together, and on camera the colour is less evident. The small jar has no cornstarch in it, it's just glue and is more transparent, whereas the middle jar is the pale yellow one, and the taller vase is the one with no colour in it at all, just the glue and the cornstarch. So there are 3 different types or colour or consistencies if you like. As you can see, the yellow I used was very pale. If you would like a deeper yellow or stronger colour, just use the more darker, brighter colours, but you know, still use very little paint because you want to keep the transparency, of course. So now it's time to do the classic green Seaglass. So I'm just going to use the same recipe and this green paint here. So here they are all together, and I just can't tell you how beautifully smooth and silky this green Seaglass feels. On all 3 jars I want to put raffia with a little raffia handle. So to do that I just stuck on some double-sided sticky tape, put on my handle, and then I just put 1 strip of the raffia around the jar top and tied a knot, and then I continued going round and round until I had covered the whole jar top. So this next step is completely optional. You can leave it out if you want, but I did it on all my 3 jars. I made the cornstarch glue mixture again without colour, and I added it to my raffia because it will seal it down, make it more stronger. If I just use glue, you know, when the glue dries it's shiny, I don't like that. So, you know, adding just that little bit of cornstarch in it will take the shine away completely, and it will make it stronger as well. So, you know, as I said, that's optional. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this DIY and I hope it gives you inspiration. Please give a like, subscribe, and now it's time for the reveal.